Live. We are now live. Good live morning. Happy Friday. What a feeling. What a feeling to be live on a Friday. That's the first sip of decaf. I've got exciting news. I also have a whole pot of tea. So this is a multi-beverage live show, and it's gonna mix up the energy a bit. It's more complicated, honestly. For me, it's easier if I don't. It's easier if I mono beverage this live, but that's not what I'm here for. It's not my commitment as a coach and a leader on this planet is not doing the easy thing. It's doing the thing that's more true to my heart. Even though that may be more challenging, it might lead to hilarious mishaps where I pour tea directly onto my lap. This is the challenge. This is the game that we're playing here, folks. Okay, I've said the silly things. The silly things are past us for the next 5 minutes or so. Got a good live show today. I'm excited. I haven't been able to go to get on live in a little bit. So what we're going to talk about today, broadly, is like that skills are not going to save you, and I'm going to look at leadership through a bunch of angles. We'll talk about the leadership skills that you need to manage to move through turbulent times. We'll talk about certainty and the kind of skills that'll support you when you are feeling uncertain or when it's kind of turbulent times, another variety of that. When things are up or down or, oh my God, what do we do? How do I become certain? How do I not have imposter syndrome? We're going to talk about better communication skills and also like just optimizing skills in general as a leader. And we're going to dunk on every single one of those. We are going to dunk hard on those skills. And the intention is that you can see a deeper cut underneath the voracious thirst that exists in our culture of optimization and skill collection. So that's our plan for today. Ah, okay. Descafeinado. I don't know how to say that in Spanish, but I have to practice because that's the way you get better. You be willing to look stupid live. That's how you improve. I speak French fluently. I was very fortunate. My parents put me in French immersion growing up, and I love speaking French. J'aime beaucoup la langue française. Ça sent très bien dans la bouche. It feels very nice in the mouth. It's very pleasing. All of the Romance languages feel very good spoken to me. They feel like languages where, when they were being created, the people that were creating them were like, that feels nice. That feels fun to like roll my R. I'm going to use that in my communication. And so I speak English, I speak French. I'm proud of that. It's part of my Canadianism. You know, I like that I'm bilingual. And yet, I always had this real sticking point with other languages and even French. Honestly, I would get very embarrassed. And part of who I am as a man, part of the essence I bring into the space is connection. And as someone who is connection, I'm very alive to when connection is present in the space and when it's not. And so it was really challenging. It remains edgy, but I've learned how to work with this edge and to lean into it and to distinguish it for what it is, as opposed to being at the effect of it, which is what I'm going to describe now. It was very edgy anytime I was in a conversation with someone and there was this awkwardness, there was this sense of disconnection between us. That showed up a million different ways, but one of the big ones was language. If there was a language barrier, I couldn't like communicate. And then we got into that, you know, that feeling where you're sort of just like everything is hilarious. You're like, ha, ha, ha. You're just laughing a lot because you feel horribly uncomfortable, or because I feel horribly uncomfortable. Like, So I would basically become stonewalled. I would just avoid any conversation where there was not the possibility of having communication already handled or where it was all laid out. And the second problem was that trying to speak a new language led to me feeling stupid, which was, as a man of brilliance, I like feeling and expressing my brilliance. And when I feel stupid, it's very sharp. I feel it with a level of sharpness. You might be like, oh, I don't know, it's weird. You should just get over that. That's how you sound, by the way, buddy, telling me that advice. And let me tell you something, buddy. Sure, you may not have that with brilliance, but perhaps you're someone who's deeply generous and you're like, well, I just don't, I'm the sort of person that can't handle being selfish. I don't like that. That's your version. Oh, no, I got to change back to my words. That's your version of me with brilliance. So it's not really about getting over something. It's about understanding that each of us bring into the world these beautiful qualities, and these beautiful qualities are gifts, but we learn to create a lot of significance around the situations and circumstances and people where those qualities are not already alive. So speaking another language was very edgy for me because it meant being with disconnection and it meant being with feeling stupid. And I had no capacity to be with that. In fact, I'd organized my entire life around avoiding those experiences. And sip time. Love that hot brown. Hey, sidebar. You guys like hot brown? If you're watching after the fact, I would like you to do me a favor, get in those comments and just type, I love me some hot brown. Let's get this out there. There is not enough people acknowledging this. If you're a fan, hey, you, whoever this one eyeball that I can see right here, if you're a fan of the hot brown, just shout it out loud and proud. If you're on the bus watching this right now, shout out, I love hot brown, or type it. You can type it in the comments too. I'll accept that. Anyhow, back on track, maybe. We'll see. Looks like we've returned to the sillies. What I learned as I've deepened into my own work, as I've unfolded, as I've learned how to be with these feelings that have significance for me, stupidity, a lack of connection, I've learned how to let them exist without having to manage them away. So it's still very uncomfortable for me, but I can sit with that discomfort. I can sit with the discomfort of feeling dumb, whatever. And what I've learned about learning a language is that you only really need two things. You need to know how to say the phrase, how do you say? So in Spanish, you need to know how to say como se dice. Como se dice. Italian is como se dice. French would be como se dire. So you need to know how to say that. In German, it is wie sagt man. So I'm learning all of these languages. That's the phrase that is the most important phrase to learn. And then second, I need to be willing to look, feel, experience myself as stupid and disconnected. Caveat here, it doesn't mean I am stupid. Oh yeah, LinkedIn user, but I can't have the hot brown. But you typed the words and I celebrate you. Yes, you. Way to go. I'm stoked. And I'm sorry that you can't have the hot brown. So as long as I'm willing to be with my own experience that I'm stupid, whoever I'm talking to might have nothing to do with that, but that doesn't matter because the experience is generated from within. As long as I'm willing to feel that way, then the rest is easy because all there is to do is to say, como se dice hello? Hola. Okay, great. Como se dice gangster? Pachuco. Ah, cool. Como se dice cool? Chido. Ah, chido. Pachuco. So all of this stuff you can start to layer on there. And then I suppose the third part is to have patience with our process. There's often these moments I notice as I've been learning that stuff where I sort of am like, oh, I can't understand people, or oh, I'm clumsy, or I only know these words and I can't string them together. But over time, a lot of that work is happening in the background and it doesn't immediately present itself. It's a lot like losing weight in what's known as a cut. I'm cutting fat off of my body for the first time in like 25 years. I've never been someone that really worked out, exercised, had the discipline to hold a diet or anything like that. And I created a phenomenally huge, probably the biggest breakthrough I've ever created in my life over the last 6 months. And I will tell you that the 9 months before that breakthrough were the most grindy, grueling, just miserable breakdown. Like no rewards without effort, no breakthrough without a breakdown. And that breakdown sucked and lasted a long ass time. But to the point that I want to draw here, in that cut, it's about eating a lot of protein to preserve the muscle that I put on, and then eating and staying in a caloric deficit. So eating a lot of protein helps the body. The body is doing a lot of digestion. It like creates satiety, so you feel full, and then fat is coming off. And there's like these interesting points where like it looks like nothing's happening. It looks like nothing's happening. It looks like nothing's happening. And then I wake up one day and I'm like, holy crap, what happened? And what's happening is a lot of that fat it's coming off of my body in various places, but there's sort of like this almost like a digital threshold where we cross and suddenly it becomes visible. Learning language is a lot like that. You know, you're asking como se dice and all of these different words and you're learning them. And then suddenly you find that you actually are able in a conversation to ask something with the right conjugation and the right words put together. So it does require some patience as well. Okay, one last update on me, and then we're going to get into our topics. Let's have some more hot brown, y'all. Disneyland. That's I think that's an offensive voice to do. I'm actually quoting Adam Sandler from the movie, the Damon Wayans Adam Sandler vehicle, Bulletproof, which is a silly movie that is kind of funny in all of the ways I like from 90s action movies. Okay. So this past weekend, I was sitting in ayahuasca ceremony. It's been not too long. It's been about 2 months. It was a really potent ceremony. I'm really, it's why I have these bracelets on. These bracelets serve one in the lineage of work I've trained in. They call, there's a whole bunch of spiritual significance around them, but why I'm wearing them right now outside of ceremony is to remind me to practice integrating. Because what happens in ceremony is we come into contact with the thing that our entire identity has been constructed to avoid us having to be with. So for example, in what I was just sharing, my entire life had been created so as to avoid feeling disconnected and stupid. And so how I like an example of that would be that anytime I couldn't remember someone's name, oh, awkward disconnection, what I'd learned to do is I would just not make eye contact with them going forward and be like, hey, buddy, and then avoid conversation because I couldn't be with the thought that they might have the experience with me that I am not connected with them, which is hilarious because that's exactly what it created. But that's the way this always works. I think Joe Hudson calls this the golden algorithm. It's the fact that like our fear creates the very thing we are trying to avoid with it. It's just the way it goes. So let me see if I can type in. Will this expand? You're not going to give me the energetic laws? Too bad. Let me try one more place. I have a whole website on this that I want to. Well, it's not going to let me. Well, what a ripoff. You'll get it later, perhaps, maybe. We'll see. So we sit in ayahuasca. It supports us to come into contact, which is where transformation lies, in contact with the thing we've been avoiding. As we do that, all of our resistance kicks up. We fight until we can fight no longer. Eventually we surrender. We touch the thing that we've been spending our whole life avoiding. What we describe typically as a miserable experience. Oh, the whole night I felt so sad. Oh, it sucked. I was just racked with grief and miserable and just felt depressed, and hearing everyone share after the night is just hurting. And we go to bed and we wake up the next day, and suddenly what we discover is a level of joy and aliveness in ourselves that we didn't know was possible. The reason is because we are no longer holding down under the water the beach ball of our grief. Because that can go, now there's spaciousness. Because we are not devoting so much energy to keeping our grief in place, there's space for everything else. And so that's typically what happens in ceremony. And what happens for people is that they have this experience that's very powerful. It's very somatic. It's felt in the body. There is a purge that's associated with it, which is your body releasing that compacted, stored energy. You can purge a million different ways. You can shake, you can yawn, you can cry, you can laugh, you can dance. This guy loves dancing. You can sing. But also, you vomit and you poo. You poo on a toilet. For those of you that are like, oh, that sounds horrible. I don't want to poo in front of people. You don't. It's very rare that happens. You go to the bathroom and you poo. The point being, this is a potent experience. And what people do, what's up, Aiden? Aiden, you a fan of hot brown? How do you feel about hot brown? If you like hot brown, put it in that chat. Let us know. Don't be shy about it. Get it out there. So what happens is people sit in ceremony. They have this experience that really like, holy mackerel. And they're left feeling like, wow, I did some real work. And they did, to their credit. This is not to discount the work they did. But what happens is they come back home and then they are met with the life that they created around themselves the way they used to be. And that life is a constant argument for why what they felt in ceremony actually doesn't really work. Aiden's saying that my camera quality is ass. I did not know that. Wow, it looks really good over here on StreamYard. That's really helpful feedback. I really appreciate that, Aiden. I will look into that after the fact. And for now, this is going to be ass vision. If you're on LinkedIn or Facebook, can you let me know if my camera quality is ass there, or is it explicitly ass to YouTube? Are we in an ass to YouTube zone, or is this ass to LinkedIn and ass to Facebook? I will look into this after the fact. And Aiden, I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's helpful feedback. I might have chosen a different means of it being delivered, but Facebook only? That's odd. But you're coming through on YouTube? Strange, very strange. YouTube. Okay, great. YouTube only. Appreciate that. So, anyhow, integration is really the hard part. It's the hardest part of the ceremony because whilst in ceremony it's scary and we have to face our fear and there's all that stuff, then we come home and we don't have the support. And Milos is telling me, guys, you can't keep this. Milos, you can't hide this from me. Bruh. Okay, not great there either. Okay, I vow today, henceforth, I will get on top of this ass-based quality that I'm sending out, and we will get this sharpened. So thank you, both of you. I appreciate that. Very helpful. Anyhow, so you come home and you have to integrate. And the integration is you basically are going to come into your life and you are going to come into the exact kind of circumstance or situation that is the exact perfect reason to not do the opening, to not open the way you did in ceremony. So for me, if I if I learned how to let go of my fear of looking awkward and clumsy in social situations, I'm going to go and I'm going to be in a social situation. This is going to be so cool. I can't wait. I did all that work in ceremony. It's going to be awesome. And I'm going to show up and I'm going to get feedback that I'm being awkward, or people are going to like give me this experience that like they don't really care what I have to say, or I'm going to be stuck talking. It's going to be super clumsy and I can't seem to make a difference and I can't seem to get in. It's like, you know what? This is dumb. I should leave anyhow. Or this is dumb and I don't want to talk to this person anyhow. Fully justified, fully perfectly tailored reason for why not continue the process that I unfolded. And that's where the work lies. That's why it's so hard. That's why I wear these, as a reminder to be in that practice. So incidentally, as a sidebar, and then we'll get into our topics here, I'm doing a lot of singing right now because the lineage of medicine I was sitting in involves a lot of singing, a lot of dancing. And singing has never been for me. It's how I related to it. I've always had a pretty powerful voice, but I've never really felt like I could sing or like that really was something that was available to me. I felt very uncomfortable. I had this story of not a good singer. And as I started to sing in ceremony, what else am I going to do? I started to notice this memory coming forward of talking to girls on the phone late at night, and my deep voice would keep my mom up, who would then come down the stairs and get mad at me. Understandably, this is not a story about my mom doing anything wrong. I don't blame her at all. It was probably super annoying that her friggin' idiot son was talking to ladies with his deep voice, not doing anything about it. And so what I learned to do, I started to realize, was I swallowed my voice. I closed and tightened my throat so that the lower part of my register would fall away. And so, throughout this ceremony this weekend, one of the many things that started to unfold was like opening my throat, allowing that to shift. And so now I'm in this awkward part of like practicing singing, not obnoxiously, but like in such a way that I can be heard, not just in the shower, but where my wife might hear me, or where as I'm getting groceries, someone might overhear me. And oh wow, Aiden says my camera's cleared up. That's fascinating. I wonder what's going on. That makes the mystery even more mysterious. Let's have some hot brown. Milos, any thoughts on hot brown? How do you feel about hot brown? Get a comment in there. So really good ceremony. There's a lot that I'm unpacking, and it's beautiful work. And I'm giving a presentation on the nexus between ayahuasca coaching and leadership to the, what are they called? The Institute of Coaching, this coming Tuesday. So if you're interested in attending that, you can let me know. I'll send you the details to register. I'm really excited about it. I've been exploring, researching, and curating my thoughts on this sort of work and where transformation for humans, where does that actually sit, and how do these different modalities connect with it? So really excited to speak about that on Tuesday. Okay, it is time to talk about leadership stuff. Milos, you say that my video quality has improved. Thank you very much. I've done absolutely nothing. I have no idea what shifted. Maybe it was just us talking about it. And Milos, you need to let me know if you like hot brown. There's no dodging this question. I'm going to hammer you. I'm going to text message you until I get the answer. Okay. So, whilst sitting with these lovely people over the last weekend, I was talking to this fascinating person. And we got onto the topic of what we both do. I started talking about like leadership and how leadership sits or connects in the context of this work. And he said, well, let me ask you this. Let me get your take on this. What do you think are the most important leadership skills for leaders that are managing turbulence? Okay, nice, Milos. Good man. Yeah, he likes the hot brown. I'm with you. What are the best leadership skills for leaders that are managing turbulence, moving systems through turbulence, moving organizations through turbulence? Probably something literally every leader can relate to right now, because holy mackerel, times they are a turbulent. They are a turbulent right now. And so I sat with this question and I was like, oh, it's such a good question. And here's where I arrive on it. It is not about leadership skills. And in fact, that's the trap. What turbulence asks of a leader is the ability for the leader to hold the tension created by that turbulence in their body, ultimately in their body, in their field, in their leadership. You can think of this on any number of levels. I don't want to make it too esoteric, but really we're talking about the leader's ability to hold that turbulence. And sitting with that turbulence, sitting with that tension means that you're going to feel a bunch of things like, I don't know what the next thing to do is. That's uncomfortable for most leaders. I'm not sure what the right answer is. I don't know how to keep my people safe. I don't know how to look like I've got this figured out. These are all aspects of discomfort that comes from the tension caused by turbulence. What most leaders do is they seek leadership skills so as to collapse that turbulence. Because by collapsing the turbulence, they no longer have to sit in the discomfort of those things I just mentioned, along with any other. You can just keep drawing out the discomfort, the reasons that you and I and every other leader you're up against or you're partnering with can't hold that tension. And so the irony here is that seeking out the leadership skill to navigate turbulence actually is the thing that gets in the way of leaders being the sort of leaders we need in turbulent times, because the skill becomes the next thing that they can then use to collapse the turbulence. Oh, okay, I figured it out, guys. I took some like power pose thing. So even though I'm uncomfortable, I can now stand and hold a power pose, and that will create some safety for me, and it'll create some safety for my people, and they'll know along with me that we'll be able to navigate the turbulence. Fail. Can you feel the turbulence the same way your people are feeling the turbulence? And can you stand in it? Can you stand with that discomfort? So the comfort of seeking leadership skills is that it lets us feel like we're doing a thing, and that lets us feel like we're moving forward, and that saves us from having to sit and confront the discomfort and whatever meaning we make out of being in the middle of a tornado and being like, I don't actually know what to do next. Are you willing to sit in it until what there is to do next shows up? And the answer to that question, I assert for you, for the vast majority of leaders, is no. No, they're not. I have to do something. And at some point we do. It's not to say that you could just sit in the tornado for the next 40 years, right? It's that these leaders are so hyper over calibrated towards action and doing something that even sitting still for like 10 minutes is causes an allergic reaction inside of them, let alone an hour, let alone 3 days, let alone a week. So they're not wrong that at some point you do have to take action. It's that their their indexing of like how long you can actually sit is so tight and short that it's all out of whack. And so for most leaders, learning how to deepen and develop the capacity will actually feel like a lack of productivity, like listlessness. It's sort of like floating in the water. I don't know where we're going. The boat's not going anywhere. It's not moving. There's no wind in our sails. That it'll feel like failing. It'll feel probably like going backwards because they're so indexed towards moving forward that any degree of stillness actually feels like a step backwards. It'll often feel like frustration, disappointment, all of these things. And so perhaps you can see the trap here, the ontological trap, which is that as the leader actually starts to do the work that is required to deepen and grow their capacity, all of these feelings I've just listed come up and they push the leader back towards, I got to get the skill. I got to figure out the next skill. And then that allows them to collapse attention, and then they can't actually hold the attention. So it's not a leadership skill. We don't need leadership skills. We need leaders that can stand in the discomfort without having to move, without having to react to it. Damn, Adam, that's a deep take, man. Deep. So that's kind of like, that's going to be our broad brushstrokes context for the conversation today. A lot of what we're talking about here is variations on that theme. We can't seek out skills. It's about being with what is showing up. So the next piece, let me just check my schedule, make sure I'm not going to be late. I'm not. That's awesome. I got oodles of time. Better communication skills. So like I don't know many leaders that aren't looking for better communication skills. If you really want to like start workshops for people and sell them to leadership circles, communication skills is top of dollar, top of quality. Very, very popular, very, very sought after, very, very important, blah, blah, blah. And so the presenting request, the request on the surface is always a skill gap. Remember from before, like from 5 minutes ago? The skill gap being like frameworks, scripts, techniques for the hard conversation. How do I have the difficult conversation? But here's the thing. If you ask someone, a leader, to describe the specific conversation that they can't have, they already know what to say. It is not a lack of knowing what to say. The words exist. And what that tells us is that this is not a vocabulary problem. This is a relationship with the truth and relational problem. So we've got two versions of the same kind of armor here that I'm going to talk about. And the reason we're going to talk about two is because if I just talk about the one side, then the people on the other side are going to go, they're going to nod their head and be like, yeah, totally. I'm going to send this podcast to those people. And then they don't get to see themselves. So as you listen to the first, you might be like, oh, I can see myself in that. That's cool. If you listen to it and you're like, oh, I can see Reggie in that. He needs to listen to this. Guess what? You're coming up next, probably. So the first side, which is very common and often the side more looking for communication skills, is what we call like the withholder. So this is the person that just withholds the conversation. They're not doing it to be withholding. No one thinks I'm gonna, when we're upset, when we're in our survival mechanism, sometimes we might, screw you, I'm gonna withhold this from you. But by and large, that's not really what's going on. It's not consciously withholding. It's just that they're withholding the communication. They're not leaning into it. So they soften, they hedge, they delay. They allude to the thing. They sort of, maybe if you're like me, the way you did this was through, what would you call that? Sort of like, passive aggressive jokes a little bit, like poke fun at the thing the person's doing and hoping that they'll get the hint instead of having the direct conversation about it. And this person really believes they're being kind. I don't want to say this because it's going to upset them. So I'm going to avoid saying the thing to them. And, that's what I'm going to do. But the trouble with this approach, this kind of approach to leadership, is that the truth doesn't disappear. That experience, that thing that needs to be addressed, that conversation that needs to be had, everyone feels it. We don't usually have the worst, unless you're a lunatic like me and you spend years and years and years in this work doing this, you don't usually have the language to distinguish what you are feeling. You just feel this like maybe frustration or like this eye roll that comes out the moment someone starts talking, or this desire to escape or check out, or whatever it happens to be comes online for you when this thing is in the space. And the thing is, because no one can actually speak to this thing, they don't have the words, and because the leader is not addressing it, what happens is everyone just learns how to manage around it. So they check out, they disengage, they put their head in their phone, they try to avoid meetings, they try to use AI to create a summary of what they were going to bring to the meeting and then send that so they don't have to go to the meeting, blah, blah, blah. So we can feel that thing in the room, and it kind of sits there awkwardly. And what the withholder is actually doing is they are treating someone as too fragile. This person is too fragile to receive the feedback. And so the leader is relating to that person as fragile. And as when you relate to someone a particular way, you create the reality of that. If I relate to you as fragile, then I'm going to withhold telling you the truth until I get to the point where I'm unwilling or unable to do that any longer. It's been too much. And then I give you the truth in a big, huge wad. Here it is, an elephant's worth of truth. Splat. I've waited for this long. It's no longer. I'm not going to wait. And then guess what? You get an elephant dropped on your plate. And so, of course, you're going to have a particular response to that. You're going to have an outsized response because I've just dropped an outsized amount of feedback on your plate. And your outsized response, I am going to slide into my relating to you. I'm going to go, aha, see, told you, Adam, they're fragile. They can't handle this. And then I recreate that whole thing. So that pattern stays stuck and lodged. That's how that works. So I'm relating to you as fragile, and it seems like we can hide or believe that we're being nice or kind or compassionate, but we're actually being condescending. We're actually relating to someone as their weakness rather than their strength. And we are not relating to them as their leadership. We are relating to them as their barriers to leadership. So that's the first issue. I'm going to talk about how the second issue shows up, and then we're going to talk about what is the commonality between these two. So the second version of this, the second type of armor, is the blunt speaker. The blunt speaker is the person that was listening to what I just said and said, like, man, here's the thing, people. You just need to say the thing. Sometimes people, I'm going to quote my beloved dad, Gavin Quiney here. Sometimes, Adam, people just need a swift kick up the ass. That's the blunt speaker. I'm going to kick people swiftly up the ass. I'm going to give it to them in the ass. I don't know why it's always the ass, but I guess there's some magic button there, some leadership button. Speaking of hot brown. Anyhow, were we? I don't know. So the blunt speaker says it and it's done. And this path kind of reads a bit as strength and perhaps even virtue. Like, yeah, finally, they said the thing. That person needed it. I was getting fed up over here. Jimmy was getting fed up over there. Reggie was fed up. They said the thing. Thank goodness, finally. So there's like some relief to this being said. But here's what is missing, is that the blunt speaker does not stay with the other person in the impact of what they delivered. They say things like, I can't be responsible for how you receive what I delivered. That sounds principled. It sounds like a powerful stand. It is not. It is not leadership. It sounds like it. It's leadership fool's gold. You know, iron pyrite, stuff that looks like gold, but it's actually not gold. It's that. Have I beaten this metaphor sufficient? We're good? We don't need me to explain the metaphor? It looks like it, which is why people settle into it. What that approach does is it allows you to say the thing, but you don't actually have to sit with the impact you had as a leader. You don't have to sit with the person over there and see, like, did that actually get in? Because if it gets in is the pretty much only thing that really matters. It doesn't matter if you say the powerful thing if it didn't land. If it didn't land, then you're ineffective as a leader. Now, the blunt speaker will say, well, it's not my job to navigate and manage people's trauma or their whatever. my job is to say the thing and then find the people that can hear the thing. That's one approach to leadership. That is an approach to leadership that will create a culture of people that are already aligned with you, and anyone else that has, like, some dots to connect, anyone else for which their leadership development will require a little bit of partnership, those people get pushed out. And so you end up with a very stale, very monocolored culture in that frame. That's what these blunt speakers tend to do. They create people around them that either just get into line, stiff spine, get into line, or people that come in, spend a bit of time, and then spin out. And then the third class, they tend to create a lot of people that just sort of like resign themselves to it, go along to get along, and then stagnate. So we've got these two approaches. One is don't say the thing, kowtow, curtail, patronize, be passive aggressive. And the other is like blunt speaker, I can't be responsible for how you receive it. They look different. They're exactly the same. Both of them are avoiding the discomfort that comes from saying the thing and being with people in that tension that is created once the feedback lands. So one person, the nice talker, avoids that discomfort by not saying the thing. I don't deliver the feedback. I don't have to be with the impact of my feedback landing on you. I don't have to be with your process. And the blunt speaker delivers the feedback, but then is unwilling to sit with you. It's not my job to be responsible. I'm not here. And so that creates this very like significant sense of aloneness and being beaten. So same underlying structure, same inability to be the tension that is created when someone gets feedback that's hard for them to receive, but different expression, different aesthetic, different kind of mechanism on the surface. So here's the upshot of this. The hard move isn't the delivery. The hard move is not communication skills. The hard move is not figuring out the right way, because figuring out the right way is usually some blend of these two. Like, how do I say it so that they don't get upset? How do I say it just right so that there is no tension for me to have to sit in? And that's missing the mark. The work is staying present to the full weight of what you just said while the other person receives it and sitting in relationship with them. That's how leadership's developed. And it's why all of this seeking out of communication skills is not actually developing more leadership. Doesn't mean you won't find an endless number of people that'll teach this. What that will create is people that come, if you imagine being in that discomfort with someone is the contact. That's the thing on the other side of the threshold we have to cross in order to really create new leadership territory. What all of this work in communication skills creates are people that come right up against the edge of that threshold and can talk so eloquently about why they are communicating well and about what is actually happening, but without actually crossing this. They never actually get into the actual space. So it becomes incredibly frustrating being with these people because they can talk at length about what you're not doing or what they're doing or how things are and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, yeah, you're saying all that stuff and I don't care. It's not landing with me. So the more powerful move for both people on either sides of the spectrum is to really start to get curious about, what am I protecting and at whose expense? What is it I'm protecting myself from? When I say I need better communication skills, let go of why do I need better communication skills. Just assume, there is something about this that I'm seeking to protect. What is that? What is it costing us? The decaf hot brown is finished. Soon we are into a new season, a season of tea. I'm going to pour it. I'm going to pour the tea now. We're going to hear tea being poured live on the podcast. No AI generated tea pour sounds. This is legit. Here we go. Let's do it. Hope that's coming through. I'm okay if my video is ass, but if the tea pouring sound is not coming through in crystal clear 128 ACC, I'm letting you down. Okay, I poured it. So let's get it sort of settled here, and that's good. Okay, I've got the coaster lined up well with the mouse pad. Here we go. Let's sip. It's not as hot as I'd like it to be. It's nice tea, but a little tepid. Okay. Let's talk about performing certainty. Performing certainty in uncertain times. So the default move for leadership when in a time, space, experience, circumstance of disruption, and if you're wondering like where can I see that? Everywhere. Everywhere right now. Like Trump doing whatever the heck Trump's doing, I don't even know. AI, like the complete algorithmicization of social media, like the way that that's blown up marketing, all of that stuff. Like we are in disruptive times. So you see it all over the place. And the default move when there's disruption happening is for leaders to project confidence. So this sort of like, don't let them see you sweat, give people something solid to hold on to. This sounds like leadership and it's often taught as leadership and it's intuitive. Most people are intuitively, they find their way to this because they feel like, well, I have to be conscious of what I share as a leader because if I don't project confidence, then my team are going to feel my fear and then they're going to get afraid and then all of this sort of stuff is going to happen. And so what you end up having are leaders projecting and performing confidence and certainty over top of feeling concerned, afraid, unsure, disrupted, and all of the other experiences, emotions, feelings, so on that go along with that. And here's the most important thing that no one says. Your team can feel your performance. They can't distinguish and articulate it above, like in the realm of language, in the cognizant realm of language, but they can feel its impact. So they're not stupid. They know that the situation's uncertain and they can feel this disconnect between the words you're saying, what you're projecting, and what they actually feel in you. And so what happens now is that the team ends up holding even more because now they're holding their own uncertainty, the disruption, and the gap between what's actually true and what you're presenting. And that gap is especially tricky for a few reasons. One, because a team can't really reflect that stuff to the leader. It's just there's lots of leaders that tell me, no, Adam, trust me. Like I've really cultivated this experience. I've asked people, I asked them for the feedback, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how it sounds when you are blind to this. It's just not the way. No matter how well intentioned you are, it's like a parent saying, insisting that they are their kid's best friend and their parent. You got to choose one. One of those has to be the priority. That's just the nature of it. And so as a leader, you don't get to have both ways. I'm afraid not. And so one, your team is actually they're not gonna reflect this to you to the full extent that would allow this to shift. And two, because they can't put it into words, they don't really know how to navigate or bring this forward. So they're just left holding something unconsciously. Their work feels harder. Their work feels more frightening, but they don't really know why. So this experience, because it's very insidious because it hangs out back here. It's very vague, and that makes it tough for people to work beyond. So what performing certainty does, it does not create safety. It creates the illusion of safety, and it creates isolation because the team is left they're alone in their uncertainty. They're like, I feel uncertain, but the leader is insisting that they don't feel that same way. And then quietly and unconsciously, they're left managing your uncertainty because you're not owning it. The leader is not owning that uncertainty. And so then the team ends up having to hold it. Now there's another side to this. I want to have some tea to moisten my throat. The other side to this is the leader so this is the leader. Again, this is for those of you that were listening. We're like, yeah, that's totally what that person does. I'm going to send them this podcast. Please do. And then buckle up because here's what you are probably doing. This is the leader who drops into, I don't know what's happening either. I haven't got a friggin' clue. Guys, I'm terrified too. And calls that transparency. Guess what? That's equally defended, just in the opposite direction. So what's happening here is you have abdication from leadership dressed up as honesty. It looks intimate. It looks authentic. It looks honest and transparent. I am letting them know I am with them. But you're actually abdicating from the strength that you need to hold as leader. And hopefully at this point, if I've done my job correctly, you're sitting here. They're just saying, Sarah Bolton saying, my favorite part so far has been a kick in the ass because there's a magic leadership button there. Yeah, you've got to kick a few times, but you will find it. It can sound like I've just given you this impossible stew to deal with. Like, okay, so don't project certainty, but don't just be transparent and whatever. So then what do I do? The actual move for the leader is to be able to sit with the discomfort and the uncertainty and the tension that creates in them. And by the way, the only way you learn to do that is to practice. And really, the only way you can practice outside of making a big mess in your companies, which is okay, is to find containers that are designed to support that kind of practice, deepening, and building of capacity. Containers like the intensive, containers like the forge, containers like the ones I lead, containers like the ones people like me lead. Those containers, those are designed to support you practicing this depth. And the move is to actually be able to tolerate the discomfort of not having an answer, to really own like, hey, I am scared too. And hey, I don't have this handled and I don't have it figured out. And to maintain the pole of leadership. And here's what I do see to do. And here's what I am committed to. And here's what you can rely on me for. And here's what you can count on me for. That is where you are transcending these two poles. You're moving beyond acting and performing certainty in the hopes that that brings people along or convinces them of safety or something like that. And you're moving beyond the point of abdication where you just get to kind of be like your team members, like, I don't friggin' know either. Hopefully someone figures this out. I don't know. So we actually have to practice leadership whilst allowing ourselves to be in the tension of the moment, of the uncertainty about ourselves as much as the moment, our business, whatever. This is what we call leading from the breakdown. I need a sip to talk about this. So in our leadership teams where people are practicing leadership, there's almost always a place where people get to where it's their turn to lead. Not because we have like a turn-based order or something like that. It's just like the moment, the whatever. It's just clear. It's their turn to lead. And what happens is usually their turn to lead shows up right when they're exhausted, right when they're tender from the night before, right when they've had something happen in their life and they're like, and what they want to do is they want to say no. They want to have someone else pick up the rope and, you know, be in that. That's okay. That is always an option. But leadership is forged in the breakdown. The practice of leadership happens in those moments of breakdown. And so this is kind of what I'm describing here. It's where even though I'm exhausted, can I lead from that place? You better believe that Martin Luther King Jr., I think Martin Luther King Jr., my mind is playing tricks with me. MLK, anyhow. You better believe that he had moments when he was leading I apologize for not knowing these names proper, but the march that he led, you better believe he had moments where he was like, I am tired. My body is beat up. People are yelling at me. I don't want to do this. I don't even know that this will work. And yet he stepped forward and led. You better believe that Mahatma Gandhi had moments where he was completely in doubt about what he was doing. He didn't know that there was going to make a difference. It seemed like peaceful resistance to the British occupation was just getting good people beat up. And yet he found the courage and the strength to lead in the midst of that uncertainty, not by pretending that he didn't have uncertainty, but by being clear on what he was committed to and allowing that commitment to exist whilst the uncertainty was still alive in him, and to speak to both of those. So, you know, the practice here for leaders is to actually stop trying to perform and to be with what's true and to practice leading from that. Allow yourself to own what's real. Allow your team to hear that, but don't stop there. Take the next step. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what you can rely on me for. Here's what you can count on me for. But yeah, it's scary for me too. And I know we're going to get through this. That's a lot more potent than, learning how to perform better under certainty, learning better performance skills when you're uncertain. Adopt a power pose. Adopting a power pose, I should say, power pose, like this, that's way easier than what I'm describing, which is why that's a more popular approach. I'm going to go take a power pose workshop. Don't worry, everyone. I know that we're scared. I know that things are crazy with the economy. I have good news. I'm going to go to a power pose workshop. And when I come back, my pose is going to be way more poised. My shoulders will be further back, my chin a little bit tucked. And I'm going to be able to deliver to you stuff that will completely hide the uncertainty that I have. So good news, power pose incoming. I'm also learning how best to kick people in the ass so as to hit the magic leadership button. So we've got this covered. That's hilarious, Adam. People don't do that. Yes, they do. That's exactly what people do. That's the point here. They don't say it like that, but that's the choice that's being made. Not from wrongness, but because that's easier than crossing the kind of threshold that I'm describing. Crossing this threshold takes courage and mettle and action, and it takes choosing into something before you're actually ready to choose into it. Readiness, ironically, it's a lagging indicator. We only become ready on the other side of doing the thing before we're ready. Isn't that weird? Yeah, it is weird, Adam. Good point. Way to point that out, dude. I like it. I like the way you pointed that thing out. You're a good pointer. Excellent pointer. Bum ba da dum 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 dum. The high performer ceiling. La 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 la. See, I'm practicing. It worked. These bracelets are magical. The high performer ceiling are the people that have done everything right and are continuing to do everything even more right. The morest of all of the rightness. That's more and most. So that's maximal rightness. So these are people that are optimizing well, they execute well, they're outperforming other people. Life is broadly fine. And our culture is it exalts this identity, this structure, this way of being. It exalts it. So we've got like Huberman podcasts, and we've got whoever the guy is that I can never remember that measures the strength of his nighttime erections against his son. And we've got cultures of like super fitness and taking 50,000 supplements, just like our ancestors did. And, so on and so on and so forth. So we have a real culture of optimization, and in addition to the culture of optimization, we have a culture that exalts it. So it's a double whammy, or a two whammy, as my uncle-in-law says. And so these people that are doing this effectively, that are nailing it, what happens is they hit something that more optimization won't move. And when that happens, they add more inputs, they adjust the system, they work harder. And what happens is they are getting diminishing returns from that system of optimization, of improving. And so they get closer and closer and closer to a threshold, but they can't cross it. And the conventional read on this is like burnout, wrong role, time for a change. Maybe I just need to, do what is said in the 4-hour work week. Maybe I need to pursue my music career, whatever it happens to be. So it's about shifting. The reason I feel the way I do is because of my circumstances. Their circumstances being the job they're in, the career that they've created for themselves, the relationship that they're in, what they are doing, what they are not doing. This is all circumstantial. This is the stuff around us rather than the internal structure. And the ontological thing that no one names, the being-based thing, is that these people, they have not hit a performance ceiling. They've hit an identity ceiling. They've created this entire self that is organized around output and input being optimized. They are the person who delivers. They are the person who can consume more energy, I guess, more information and synthesize it better than anyone else. They have figured out how to listen to podcasts at 2x and still glean all of that information. And they read philosophers' notes so that they can read 6,000 books every week. And on top of all that input that they can process, they can also output at an incredible extent. They're using AI, they're spinning up agents, they're doing all this stuff so that now they can write twice as many posts and they can clone their voice and do podcasts that way and so on and so forth. The whole self is organized around that. And that structure, which worked brilliantly up to a point, is now the thing they can't grow beyond. And what they go and do is they go and seek new ways to perform. Okay, maybe I need to find another podcast to add into my rotation. Maybe I need to blah, 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 blah. Maybe I need to remove podcasts and optimize my empty time. Notice that the system finds a way in, right? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to optimize, doesn't occur this way, but I'm going to optimize my spare time. Optimizing is the issue. So the tell is when you ask people like this, like, what would you do if performance wouldn't matter? Like if there's nothing you had to create, if there was no optimization, what would you do? They go blank. And they go blank because it's not because they don't have interest or anything like that. It's because the question has no answer inside this frame. This whole frame is about optimization. And more optimization is basically trying to solve what is fundamentally an identity issue with a performance solution. So the system pulls all stuff back up to this layer. Okay, let's perform more. We'll do even more performance, and the underlying identity remains untouched. It won't work. We can't solve at that level. We can't solve a problem at the level of our identity, our internal structure, the way we've created ourselves and our ways of being and how we show up in the world and what we have meaning around. We cannot solve something that is a problem rooted at that level by using the strategies created from that underlying structure. It just creates more of the same. And so more optimization just falls short. It looks good. It gives us a thing to push towards. And what's required in these moments is not better systems. And this is the annoying thing. It's a willingness to sit in the discomfort that comes when that output or that input, that optimization stops. Notice that effective pause I used there? It's about being with the discomfort that starts to arise and the voice that discomfort speaks to you with, like, this is a waste of your time. This isn't going to move you towards anything. What is the point of this? Why bother do this? What is it? Just you're going to spend the rest of your life lying in a hammock? What's the point? It's the discomfort that creates in those of us that have become highly optimized. That is where what is next can grow from, and only from that place. And the truth is that most of these sort of leaders are not ready for this question. There's a threshold that has to be crossed where that question can be really sat with. And the threshold that is to be crossed requires that there is something that these people want for which more optimization is not creating, it's not providing them the results. And that thing that they want is sufficient that they're willing to pay a cost to create it. That cost is whatever happens when you stop optimizing. It's whatever you have to sit with and confront when you let go of optimizing input and output and being the one who performs better than everyone else. Most of these people have never really had to sit with that because our world rewards performance. Our world is geared towards this. And so this kind of path it's fraught. It's fraught with a lot of other people's opinions about the heck happened with you. It's fraught with your own opinions about what it means or what's going to happen or what isn't going to happen. And the hard work is to sit in that, to let ourselves go still and be with that. Okay, let's take a sip. We're just at the top of the hour. And in my opinion, I think that's a very good place for us to finish today. May 8th, if this work resonates with you, if these concepts speak to you and feel like something that you might be exploring yourself, this is the sort of work we do in spaces like the intensive. So you can learn more about that. You can go to evergrowthcoaching.com/the-intensive. That event runs May 26th through 29th. And it's for people that are ready to actually cross that threshold, ready to move beyond learning more and more about the threshold or optimizing or figuring out better systems or skills and actually cross that threshold. It's going to be an awesome time. It's here in Victoria, British Columbia. You can always reach out to me too if you're interested in hearing more. Have an amazing weekend. I'm going to go play pickleball, and I hope you're going to go do something awesome too. Bye, everyone.